Hello, my name is Ray Freeman from Ray Freeman Psychotherapy. I have for more than 20 years worked as a therapist helping the victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse. It's my special interest, and I've got 2 podcasts to do in a little group. One about signs that you're dating a narcissist, and the other signs that you have been parented by a narcissist. So let's start with the dating one today. You will forgive me if I refer to notes occasionally, because I want to make sure I tell you what I think. And please don't take this podcast or any of my podcasts as therapy. It's not. If you want therapy, you can contact me. This is about me pontificating about my special interest in therapy. Nothing more than that. So, we've all experienced that surge of excitement with a new relationship. Someone new can be exhilarating, confusing at times, and sometimes disorienting too. This is likely the time we ignore the red flags. And your new narcissistic partner is showering you with gifts and affection to blind you to the real person you're getting into a relationship with. They're there to bind you to them too. It will follow a pattern that starts charming and gradually becomes draining, and I would add damaging too. Narcissistic personality traits exist on a spectrum, not a switch to indicate they've got it or they're not. And in my experience working this area of therapy for over 20 years, as I say, they are more likely to be what I have come to know as a behavioural narcissist, not one that's diagnosable as with narcissistic personality disorder. This is a learned behaviour. They somehow learn in childhood that if they bully people, they've got the secret of life and success. Of course, it doesn't work. They become not very nice people, depending on how bad they are in narcissistic traits. Regardless of the creation, it doesn't really matter. Persistent patterns can undermine your emotional safety and your well-being. We are all entitled to live our lives toxic free. So here are some clear signs that the person you're dating may be a narcissist. What those signs look like in everyday interactions and why they will matter to you. So let's start at the beginning with their excessive charm early on. The narcissists often appear magnetic, confident, and intensely attentive. They excel at love bombing, overwhelming you with compliments, gifts, and devotion to accelerate the intimacy. This idealization phase can feel flattering and intoxicating. You wave at the red flags as they whoosh past you. However, the charm is superficial and used to secure your admiration and establish control over you. This will abruptly decline when it no longer serves their needs and they perceive that they are in control. Their constant need for admiration and validation is a hallmark of behavioural narcissism and is an ongoing, insatiable hunger for praise and attention. You are not their partner, you are their audience. They will fish for compliments, dominate conversations and about their achievements, or become upset when you do not notice or admire them enough. Their mood depends heavily on external validation from you and other people. They may be upbeat when admired and bitter or deflated when they're ignored. The reason for this is very clear to me. They lack the ability to reflect on life. They lack the ability to reflect on themselves. We could say they are a very low monitoring person, a very low self-monitoring person. Their lack of empathy is worth explaining a little bit more. Either in childhood or early teenage years, they either saw or were subjected to some kind of abuse. They may even have done it to themselves, even by accident, perhaps hurt a friend or a pet that then gave in to them. What holds them apart from the rest of us is that they believe they've found the meaning of success in life. All you need to do is bully and you get your own way. That's success. Now, what happens when this occurs is their cognitive growth either curtails or stops altogether. Let me explain cognitive. Cognitive just means understanding. So their growth about the understanding of themselves and the world around them either stops or slows down drastically. Think about it. They found the meaning of life. As a guide, I often see their behaviour like that of a naughty teenager. They want the autonomy to be an adult, but they are incapable of taking responsibility. A naughty teenager. This is not meant to make light of the description. They are often cruel and nasty people, weak in themselves, and hence they need to be at the top of life to be in control of everything. This is why they tend to spread confusion. This way, they keep people off balance and themselves in control. One of the most damaging features is an inability or unwillingness to empathize. Behavioral narcissists, BNs, struggle to recognize or care about your feelings unless those feelings reflect back on them or affect their image. When you're upset, they may minimize your pain, redirect focus to themselves, or respond with practical solutions instead of emotional support. This emotional distance erodes your trust and the connection with them over time. As a prime example, let's say, for example, something nasty happens to you. The first thing your narcissistic partner will say, how does that affect me? Not, are you okay? You get the difference. Good. They have a grandiose sense of entitlement. BNs often operate with an unspoken rule. The world should accommodate them. They may expect special treatment, demand favours without reciprocation, or assume rules that don't apply to them. In a relationship, this entitlement can appear as impatience with your needs, insisting on having things their own way, or becoming aggrieved when their expectations are not met. Manipulation and gaslighting to maintain control. Narcissists frequently manipulate situations and people. Gaslighting, denying or reframing events to make you doubt the memories or your perceptions. It's a very common tactic. They may twist conversations, insist you're overly sensitive, or accuse you of making things up. Over time, this undermines your confidence and your sense of reality. As an example, you may see behind me, next to the bookcase, there is a poster. Now, it's reading backwards, I think, but it's for a film from 1933 called Gaslight. And this film was about a man who wanted to drive his wife mad. Not so uncommon, but this was the first of them. Their house was lit by gas rather than electric. 1933. And what he used to do is he would attempt to drive her mad, saying it was too bright in here, but he'd already turned the gaslighting right down to the minimum, so she thought it was dark, and she started to doubt her own sense of reality. This is where we get the word gaslighting from. This film, that was originally a play in 1930 called Gaslight, was on in America, but they made a film of it, and that's the poster from it, and I love that poster. Superficial relationships and social status focus narcissists, and they often prioritize their own image and their status. They may choose friends and partners based on what they gain socially rather than emotional compatibility. Conversations frequently revolve around appearances, achievements, and admiration from others. They may also be competitive, needing to outshine or belittle others to feel superior. They have a very clear understanding, or what they believe is an understanding of other people. They either find people inferior to them, in which case they are there to be controlled, or they find themselves inferior to others, like the government or police or something like that, where they will be subservient. Don't think that that makes them a good citizen. They believe they know more about the law than the police or solicitors, more about mental health than psychiatrists, more about somatic health, your real health, than doctors. They know everything there is to know about everything. Controlling behaviour is disguised as care. Control can be very subtle. Framed as concern or help, a narcissistic partner may monitor your time, dictate social plans, or critique your choices under the guise of protecting you. They may also impose rules about finances, friendships, personal habits, presenting their demands as reasonable or necessary, all whilst ignoring your own autonomy. It becomes normalized over time. And I've often come across people that do not believe they are in a narcissistic, abusive relationship. They will say, yes, but I know to do that because if I don't, he will be like this or she will do that. 75% of intimate relationship narcissism comes from men, 25% from women. And I've got to say, in my experience, the women are far more vicious. The men can be violent, but the women are far more vicious. And that's because us men have very fragile egos in the first place. Very easy to burst the bubble of a man. They will be very inconsistent with boundaries, and they won't respect yours necessarily in any, as they would in a healthy relationship. Narcissists tend to violate these boundaries, emotional, physical or sexual, because they prioritize their needs over everything else. So you may be physically, emotionally or sexually abused. They may dismiss your limits, push you to comply, or become angry when you assert yourself. If you try to enforce boundaries, you might be met with a punishment, with a withdrawal, or retaliatory behaviour, or just sometimes just plain bloody silence. That can be so devastating when someone doesn't talk to you, and you as an adult want to talk it out and get to the root of the problem and move on. BNs, behavioural narcissists, love blame shifting and the refusal to take responsibility. Remember I said earlier, they're like a naughty teenager. They want the trappings of adulthood, but they won't take the responsibility. They're incapable of taking it. So when conflicts arise, a narcissist rarely owns up to mistakes. They deflect blame and they make excuses, or they turn the issue back on you. Well, it only made a mistake because you did this. You may find yourself constantly apologising for things you didn't do, or accepting responsibility for things you didn't do, or you did do, just to keep the peace. This pattern prevents genuine problem solving and growth in a relationship. It doesn't work. Their frequent mood swings are tied to ego threats. Narcissists' emotions often revolve around perceived slights or praise. Small criticisms or situations where they feel overlooked can provoke disproportionate reactions. We can call that a narcissistic rage. It can be silent treatment, like I've said, passive aggression, or dramatic withdrawal. Conversely, flattering attention can produce sudden warmth and generosity. This volatility makes the relationship feel like an emotional whiplash. Their exploitative behaviour can use people as a means to an end, financially, socially, and even emotionally. They may take advantage of your resources, your skills, your connections without genuine reciprocity. Very common that I see victims coming out of or even staying in relationships that have no money because it's all gone to the abuser. This exploitation might be subtle, expecting favours, or blatant, manipulating you into doing things against your interest, often justified by their perceived superiority or their need. Jealousy, possessiveness, and competitiveness often perceive partners as extensions of themselves, not independent people. They may get jealous of your achievements, friendships, or attention that you receive from others, and attempt to control or diminish external relationships. This possessiveness is rooted in insecurity, and it's master's dominance. What they do is effectively shrink the circle of support you have around you, so that they will gradually remove friends and relations from that sphere of influence in case you are led to do something or think something that doesn't suit them. They will idealize and then very often devalue you and discard. A common narcissistic relationship pattern moves from idealization, love bombing, for example, to devaluation, criticism and withdrawal, and sometimes to discard, abandonment or replacement. After you fail to meet unrealistic expectations, the partner may suddenly treat you with contempt or walk away. Recognizing these behaviors is crucial because narcissistic patterns can erode your self-esteem, cause chronic stress, impair your capacity for healthy relationships. Emotional abuse through gaslighting and manipulation or consistent dismissal is harmful even without the physical violence. Understanding the signs empowers you to set boundaries, seek support, and decide whether you want to continue the relationship. And I think I've spoken enough for now about this topic, except to say that around 50% of my clients over all these years actually stay in the relationship with a narcissist. 50% leave. It's approximately, I've never done the sums, but it's about half and half. And what they'll do is they'll stay in the relationship, but working with me, they will learn how to pick their battles and make life more acceptable for them. This has been a bit long-winded. I'm sorry it's gone on for as long as it has, but I wanted to get across, certainly in this first podcast of this series, just to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from. I'm on your side if you're a victim or a survivor of narcissistic abuse. Talk to me if you wish. I do still see clients. Join the membership on the website, Ray Freeman Psychotherapy, and continue to watch for me on YouTube and elsewhere. Thank you for listening.